Hello and welcome to Sip Sip Hooray, the podcast that pairs good stories with great sips and leaves the snobbery at the door. Today we're taking you into the Sierra Foothills for an interview about family, farming, and winemaking finesse. We're sitting down with brothers Derek and Peter Delfino of Edio Vineyards. Edio is named for their grandfather, Edio Delfino, a lifelong farmer and visionary who helped establish Apple Hill in the Sierra Foothills. Derek and Peter, along with their siblings and extended family members, are carrying on Edio's tradition and adding their own style and talent. With Derek managing the vineyards, Peter making Edio wine, together they are balancing family tradition with innovation and a through line of love for the land and a deep respect for where they come from. So pour a glass and we'll raise a glass to family and the foothills. We are the two Marys who like to eat, drink, and be merry. I'm Mary Babbitt.
I'm Mary Orlin. Dorado County in the Sierra Foothills wine country is one of California's best-kept secrets, but it shouldn't be. When gold was discovered here in the mid-1800s, the Italians who came to the region to strike it rich brought with them their grapevines and winemaking traditions. The folks at Edio Vineyards in the Camino district came from this heritage. In homage to patriarch Edio Delfino, who created the family's fruit orchards, the third generation planted vineyards at what many might think is an impossible elevation up to 3,000 feet, where wintry snows are not uncommon, to create Edio Vineyards. Today, brothers Derek and Peter, along with sister Christine, brought their wine growing and winemaking talents as fourth-generation vintners to the family's endeavor and created what today is one of the most exciting wineries in Dorado County. Mary Babbitt and I were fortunate enough to visit with Edio in 2023, and we enjoyed the beautiful views from the new tasting room and sipping the fabulous wines that were full of distinct characteristic of the region. The acidity, the fruit, the minerality really blew us away. So we're so happy to have Derek and Peter with us today to share their story. Welcome to Sip Sip Hooray.
Hi, how's it going, everybody? I'm Derek Delfino, viticulturist and vineyard manager, orchard manager at Delfino Farms. Great to be here. Thanks for having me.
We're glad you're here, Derek. And you too, Peter.
Yep, I'm here too. I know we sound alike, but
Peter is the winemaker, and Derek is, as he said, he's the viticulturist taking care of the land and the vineyards. So I think it'd be nice to start with kind of helping our listeners know where you are. So Apple Hill, Dorado County, the foothills. Derek, just as we were getting started, said there's still snow on the ground where you guys are today. So can you describe, sort of set the scene for us?
Yeah. So El Dorado County, very big county. And unfortunately, at the moment, there's no sub-AVAs or sub-appellations, anything like that. But we call our little area the High Sierras. We're about as high as you can get in the Sierra Foothills and still grow grapes. Sitting around just below 3,000 feet. If you went any higher, you'd lose a lot of your crop to frost year after year. So we're right on the edge, in the up the 50 towards Tahoe, which is a great area. At this elevation, just wines are different, growing's different. The fruit that comes off our vineyards is different, but we're very proud and happy to grow at this elevation. Although it has its challenges, it's amazing to see the fruit, that we get to work with.
So tell us about some of those differences and the challenges.
So growing at elevation is kind of a dual-edged sword. A challenge that we face, I always joke around, our biggest pest is frost. Where other areas, it could be an insect, could be a mildew. Our biggest challenge is getting through those spring frosts. We have, like you were saying, snow on the ground right now, and we'll see another big storm by the end of the year. So it's really just prolonging that air time before bud break, and handling those spring frosts. And then, we actually don't have a long growing season. We have a pretty short growing season because we see significant weather on the back end. So November, the cold comes and it comes pretty hard. So, those late November times can be pretty cold. But what we do have, so, like I said, double-edged sword, what we do have is a long ripening period. So we ripen in those cooler months as well. So it lets the flavors really develop. But yeah, the challenges are the cold, for sure. And then honestly, a challenge would be not the hot, but the UV light, the intensity of the light that we see at this elevation. You don't really think about it a whole lot, but as you go up in elevation, the light gets more intense. And I always make the really dumb analogy that you can get a better tan in Tahoe than you can on the coast. So it's definitely something that we deal with. Burn can happen a lot quicker at this elevation if you're not careful.
Wow.
Yeah. So how do you manage that?
It's more just, you got to think of your varieties like Grenache, that may be a little more sensitive to burn. You have to be careful about where they are, what's their aspect, what leaves you're pulling. And then obviously all your white varieties, you can't leave anything out to sit in the sun or it's going to be an issue. So we're very mindful of that. But I'm sure you'll ask me this question in future of this podcast, but it all those negatives come with a significant positive. So if you can get through the challenges and let those, this elevation really speak for itself, it really makes the wines different in a good way.
Well, and speaking of wines, we should check in with Peter tell us about the kind of varietals you guys are growing and are turning into beautiful wines up there.
Yeah, the Sierra Foothills, what I've been noticing is that there is a lot of Italian varieties. I know you've spoken with Boger and they're high on the Italian wines, but we're really high on the Rhone varieties in particular. So we've gravitated towards the Rhones, and honestly, we were recommended by Goldbud.
Okay.
So when my grandpa, we can get into the history a little bit about it, but he planted back in the 70s cab, and he planted Pinot Grigio because that's what everybody was planting in the 70s. And so when me and my siblings wanted to take on this new venture, we were trying to figure out what would grow best, not what would sell best. So what we found with our soil type, all our elevation, our site is the Rhones really do well. So Grenache, Syrah, Viognier, those are the main, and Mourvedre especially is my favorite variety. So those are the varieties that we kind of gravitate towards.
Nice.
Right. And you mentioned Ron and it's Ron Mansfield.
Yeah, Ron Mansfield.
He's a legendary grower in El Dorado at Goldbud Farms. What did you get to ever work with him or learn anything? What did you learn from him?
We're really close with his son, Chuck, but Ron, when in about, I think it was like 2014, we approached him and we're like, Ron, you're very knowledgeable. Like and we had a sit down meeting with him, like, what would you grow? And he was like, I will grow Grenache, Mourvedre, Syrah. And that's what Goldbud's doing. And we followed suit. So the most we've worked with him is just here or there, but he was very influential in what we grow and the varieties that we have. Nice. And so is Greg Boger. I know I just said Rhones, but one of our most popular wines that we do is an Albarino. And that was a recommendation from Greg Boger. He said, with your site and your unique soil for up here, he thought Albarino would do well. And it really does. It's my easiest wine that I make. Always perfect chemistry, perfect flavors, ripens beautifully, and ripens, and it buds out late, ripens early. It's exactly what me and Derek want for up here, where it's cold with the frost, and then the winter's creeping up on us. So,
y'all
about
sent us that wine,
yes,
and it's absolutely delicious with tangy, zippy acidity. It's just the pear white flowers. It's just, and you get the minerality from the granitic soil. It's just so aromatic.
Yeah, no, like I said, I wish I could just make Albarino because the fermentation, it smells beautifully during the whole fermentation. It's all stainless steel. We're just trying to really easy to make, and we love it. And yeah, no, happy you guys liked it.
It's delicious wine. I wanted to ask about, you mentioned your neighbors, as the crow flies neighbors, like the Bogers. And I would like to talk about the community in El Dorado County and in the winemaking world there, because we really got a lovely taste of it when we visited. And people who are there are super dedicated to that place and to creating wonderful wines that reflect the Sierra Foothills and maybe have some Sierra spice in them, that elusive taste of the Sierras. But tell me about the community. And I think what's interesting for me is that your grandfather was a real big reason why there is so much community there.
Yeah. So a little history on him. He is an Italian immigrant. His family came over in the 1930s. And they settled in Santa Elena, of all places. And they had a 20-acre farm in Santa Elena. He told me stories of, plowing with the donkey in the field before school. And he had to do all his chores so he could play football after school, before school. So he always was really entrenched in the vineyards up in Santa Elena. And then in 1960, he moved to El Dorado County to take a job as the ag commissioner. And in that time, there was all pears up here. Everywhere was pears. And there was a disease, pear decline. So all the pears they had to move. They had to figure out what to do. He actually was instrumental in bringing something called Apple Hill, and that's what it is today. Whereas a lot of apple orchards, a lot of different farms, almost like tasting rooms, but apple farms where there's like bakeries. You could buy apples. You could do fun farm activities, all different kinds of stuff with it.
And it's huge. I mean,
yeah,
people really come and hang out and make a day of it. And there's many different places to stop and visit and enjoy.
Especially during the season that the apples are all ripe for picking.
That's the best time to come.
Yeah.
Apple Hill is one of the biggest agritourism areas in North America. And I think it's in the top 5 in the world. So I don't think my grandfather knew it when he was doing it, but I think our location for Apple Hill is just perfect, right in the middle of Reno, Tahoe, Sacramento, San Francisco, Sonoma. So we get these people that come here during the season mostly, and like Peter said perfectly, you're touring your farm almost like a tasting room, coming in, enjoying, seeing the fruit on the trees. It was a really, really smart idea. And it wasn't just my grandfather. He had a partner, Dick Bethel, was the farm advisor, and they all kind of brought this together. But yeah, Apple Hill is something that's just outgrown, I think, even his expectations. So
what a smart pivot from pears to apples.
Yeah.
But to the blight, the decline Pete was talking about, pear is one of its only hosts. So apple trees is a perfect secondary crop because you could plant that tree where the pear tree was, and you don't have to worry about the blight. Yeah. So, and actually pears are slowly starting to make a comeback, but I think everybody's very weary. But it's pretty impressive what he made during that time.
Well, and your grandma had a role in it too at what is now Delfino. What do you guys have? Delfino? You call it Delfino now, and then there's Edio Vineyards at Delfino,
and then Jones Bakery. That's the one. My grandma's bakery. So Jones Bakery, Edio Vineyards. Those are our 2. And then actually we have a hard cider label, Henrietta Stitch, which is named after my great grandma on my grandmother's side. So those are our 3 avenues. But yeah, Jones Bakery, which actually now Pete's wife runs. So I'm sure Pete can speak on it more than I can. But yeah, it's all recipes handed down. We're one of the only bakeries on the hill that still hand make our dough every single morning. We never thaw anything out and serve it. It's always freshly made. It's a true labor of love. And if we changed the recipes or made it different, I think my grandma would come see us that night. So we definitely do it the way she did it. But it shows. I really, and it's so nice to hear the feedback from people that have been having our pie for the last 50 years, and they say they'll never go anywhere else, which is awesome. And it was great.
I've seen videos of her making the pies online,
Oh,
on YouTube. So people go search for it. It's amazing. So how many acres of orchards, of apple orchards, are on your farm?
On our estate, actually, so my grandfather went to Cal Poly San Luis Obispo, just like Pete. Me and my sister went. He went for ag plant sciences and another major in entomology. But he had partnered, met a lot of people, and then ended up partnering with UC Davis to plant a 5 acre parcel in a brand new planting called hedge form. So instead of the apple trees having huge spacings, they're very close together. They end up looking like hedges. That's why they call it. But it was the first time anybody ever tried it. And our estate was the experimental block. So we have a 5 acre parcel that actually has more like 8 acres of trees. The idea was to limit entry points for insects, also let the trees share a little bit of heat during those cold months, and also maximizing your plot. And now it's actually used in a lot of areas. So it's pretty cool. And then we also farm other orchards, a couple different properties that have orchards as well. But yeah, our state is the 5.
On the Air Estate, when did you guys build the new tasting room and create that whole space for people to enjoy your wines?
Yeah, so the tasting room we built in 2020, a perfect time to build a tasting room.
Yeah.
Because
yeah, it was like we
I
opened our doors.
The pandemic.
Yeah, the pandemic. We opened our doors in March and then we closed them in April.
Oh my gosh.
But no, it's worked out. Yeah, 2020 we built a tasting room and a winery. 2018 was our first vintage of wine under the Edio Vineyards label. We've had the vineyards. We had our cab vineyards since the 80s. My grandpa planted, and then we planted the rest of the vineyards around 2014. But the first vintage that we did for ourselves was 2018. And we know you were talking about the community now. And one important thing is Lava Cap.
Yes.
They're a winery around here. Me and my brothers and siblings, we grew up with the Joneses. So we were highly involved with them doing 4-H and sports, growing up with them. Oh. And Charlie Jones allowed me to make my first vintage at Lava Cap in 2018.
God bless him. That's awesome. How nice.
Yeah. So I don't think he told me he'll never do it again. He'll never. But he did let me, and I was very appreciative. I learned a lot from him, just about the Sierra Foothills fruit, because a little bit of background about me is, so I grew up, working on the farm here in the orchards and Vineyard Derek too. And I remember thinking as a kid, I'll never do this. This is not what I want.
You couldn't pay me to do that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And
that happens a lot in the family business.
Yeah. And then funny enough, so we didn't have a winery, but my sister, Christine Noonan is her name. She actually was the one that looked at Boger and looked at Lava Cap and looked at Madronia and all these other farms. It's like, why couldn't we do our own wine label and our own tasting room? We have the lot, we have the vineyard. So I was just in high school at the time, and she was like, you should be the winemaker. And I was like, the winemaker? I was like, I don't even know anything about wine, but because our parents, my mother took that and ran, and she did a little small batch at a local winery, Fenton Harriet, and I helped her with it and doing the punch downs and the yeast and the fermentation. And I ended up thinking this is pretty fun. So then she was already at Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. So then I went down there and majored in enology winemaking and graduated from down there and worked at wineries down there for 10 years. And then in 2018, we moved back home to try our own label. And Derek essentially did the same thing with viticulture.
Yeah, I was a little younger though. It's funny. When Pete was told, you should be the winemaker, I must have been middle school, and they're like, you should be the vineyard manager. And I was like, okay, sure. So I always joked around that I don't know if because I truly do love farming and I love managing vineyards and orchards, but I don't know if I know I have to love it and that's why I love it, or because I've always told myself I'm going to be a vineyard manager. So it was very interesting, but that was the only thing I ever wanted to do was manage vineyards. So it was truly a a dream come true. So we're very
And now you can find me and Derek out in the vineyard doing sport we wouldn't do.
What did we get ourselves into?
Yeah, exactly.
But it's also very cool that at an early age you kind of had, the vision of what you were going to do.
Yeah.
And you kind of
all my
toward
friends.
that.
Yeah, all my friends in high school and college, they don't know what they're gonna do.
Right.
I've always told them I can't relate. I'm gonna make wine.
Yeah.
Well, I think
how lucky that you guys are all Mustangs too. That's even Edio. They're all Cal Poly Mustangs. But what a perfect place to go and learn. You learn the scholastic side of what you guys are up to, and their whole motto is learn by doing. So you got, I'm sure, hands-on experience down there, and as you said, a taste of some of those wineries on the Central Coast and how they were doing winemaking and viticulture.
Yeah, some of the best advice I got at a young age was from another family down here, the Barsodis.
Sure.
Yeah, they do the Barsodi juice. They're all over the place. They're
good vineyards,
Trader Joe's and
apple juice.
And carrot juice and all kinds of juice.
Yeah.
But Gail Barsodi told me, you should go work for somebody else and work for a lot of other people before you come home and do it yourself. And I always thought that was great advice. So me and Christine and Derek all went out and worked for different wineries. Christine, the bigger ones, me more boutique and large scale winemaking, and Derek in he could talk about the vineyards he'd worked for, but and we all learned our craft down there, and we waited till we knew that we could do it, and then that's when we decided to come back and start this thing.
Mm-hmm. I think the big thing was we didn't want to come back being really green. I think this is such a true thing that you can learn about the books and the theory, but until you're seeing it in real time, it's such a different beast. But I do think, like you were saying, Mary, that the Cal Poly's motto, learn by doing, they it's impossible to teach you how to handle every scenario, but they were so good about teaching you like a holistic view of viticulture, for me at least. So instead of knowing, if this happens, I should do this, I know exactly what the vine is supposed to do at every moment of the growing season. So if something's going wrong or something's weather event, I know what the vine needs and what it doesn't need. So it was Cal Poly. We obviously Mustang runs through our family like no other, but I am Christine and I are the biggest cheerleaders for Cal Poly, and a lot of people say, why don't you go to Davis? And it's like, well, my grandfather went toCal Poly, that's why I didn't go to Davis. So
our mother went to Cal Poly.
Yeah, mother.
She did. Oh my gosh. Well, my son.
Yeah, what Mary Babbitt hasn't told you is one of her sons went to
Luke
was Cal Poly.
Oh, nice. Yeah, it's awesome.
But he was there during the pandemic, so it was kind of learned by Zooming. But
that's brutal. That is absolutely brutal. Slow is such an amazing town.
Oh yeah.
So it was also it wasn't like we were slumming it out. We also got to live in Slow, which was fantastic. But
we joke. I always said if I didn't have this farm, I would have stayed down
there. Yeah.
And I love the wines. I love the atmosphere. I love everything about it. I love up here more.
But speaking a little more on Slow, Pete kind of mentioned it, but we started our careers with Chardonnay and Pinot. So and there's you don't see a whole lot of Chardonnay and Pinot in the Sierra Foothills.
No, you don't.
That they're very coastal grapes, very temperamental grapes that need a certain very, very specific climate. But Pete could speak on, and I could speak on it from a vineyard standpoint, that also growing that fruit, it's so different than growing the varieties we grow and where we grow them. And I think that was also a huge reason why we kind of went around, made different wines, did different things. So Pete always jokes around that he makes a lot of wines like he makes, he learned how to make Pinot. And I think that's what kind of sets our wines apart too, because we're just so gentle and it's very old world. But yeah, and then I also went around, Pete talked about it for a second, but I worked at Law Estate in Paso Robles, and then I worked at Ridge Vineyards in Sonoma, and then I went down to Montebello for a bit. But just trying to get that holistic view of a lot of different grapes and a lot of different varieties and a lot of different vineyard management tactics. But yeah, so.
Yeah, that's great. Well, it seems like everything is all in the family at Edio and Delfino Farms. I was going through all the bios, and just about everybody's last name is Delfino, whether they're born into the family or married into the family. What is the dynamics of working with so many family members?
Well, my wife and Derek's wife and my sister's husband, they didn't know this when they married us, but they have to work at the farm. So my wife went to school to become a school teacher. And that was her plan up until she worked at the bakery one fall and fell in love with it. And now she runs the bakery full time. And Derek's wife, Brittany, she does our events. And then my sister's husband, Tommy, he does our social media. And then we have a cool thing that we do during summer. It's called Folk on the Farm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every Saturday we do a different band, and we could have like 200 people that come out to the farm, and it's really fun. It's not just live music. It's like a full on concert. And yeah, he runs all that, books all the bands. It's really been successful for us. And
it's such a great space for it.
Yeah, you're literally surrounded by vineyard and pine trees. So
and everybody's got a good seat. It's not like, everyone's got the perfect vantage point of the stage. I just think it's fantastic.
I think a big thing was with the family working here is nobody's going to treat it as good as your family. Nobody's going to put as much into it if you're not connected to it in that way. So, Pete talks about our significant others being a part of it, but also our hospitality manager / tasting manager is my cousin who worked with us our whole lives. Like it's something, we obviously, this is our dream, but having those people that can share in the dream and sacrifice and work just as hard as you has been so special for us. And I think also, I just want to take a moment to talk how the biggest part of our business is missing from my sister was such an instrumental part of having, telling Pete and I, like, you guys should do this. And she has been fantastic.
She's a dynamo.
She is. We got to meet Christine when we were there last year.
Yeah.
This doesn't exist without her. It's her brainchild. And we always joke that she's our boss, but she essentially is our boss. And she's the oldest. So it kind of works out. She has 3 younger brothers. We have another brother, Ben, he's involved financially, but he's kind of more behind the scenes. But we've always done what she says, so it's pretty easy to keep doing what she says.
It worked out.
And tell us Christine's role.
She's the she's the GM, she's the CEO. Pete and I always joke around that we're responsible for what's in the glass, and she's responsible for every single thing else. She really is
pretty much everything.
Everything. She's awesome. She, like Pete mentioned for a second, but she got really got her licks in at a corporate winery, Chamisol in Edna Valley, owned by Wine Group. So she learned the corporate side. How do I bring a business mentality to a family-run winery? And she does such a fantastic job. Pete and I, we give her a lot of grief, but she, behind her back, we say she does a great job.
You bring up a point that you bring up a point that I wanted to ask you about, because I'm from a big family. I have 4 children of my own, and there is a thing about nobody loves you as much as your family loves you.
Yeah.
But also, nobody talks smack as much as your family's going to talk smack about you.
That's true. That is very
true. How do you find that balance of, like, because if your sibling is not going to hold back when they're telling you what's bugging them about you or something, right? And in a normal work world, you might be a little bit more cautious and careful about how you phrase something.
Or diplomatic.
Not to offend, exactly.
Yeah. We deal. I get that question all the time, because if you come into the tasting room, you'll see me, Derek, Christine, even my dad, like arguing or something. Yeah. And they're like, I could never work with my dad or my sister or my brother. And I'm like, it just is very maybe because we knew we were going to do this since we were in high school, but even though you might think me and Derek hate each other if you walk in the wrong day, but we always end up working it out and working towards our goal. And yeah, but I don't know. Maybe it's the way we were raised, but I get that question so often and I don't really know how to answer it.
Well, that's a nice statement, though.
I also think that that's what sets us apart a lot, actually. I tell people this all the time, but I worked at a lot of vineyards and a lot of wineries where the vineyard manager and the winemaker were constantly butting heads because the vineyard manager thinks that the winemaker's not maximizing his fruit, and the winemaker thinks that the vineyard manager, if he would have just got slightly better grapes, the wine would be that much better. But my brother, Peter, is my older brother. He has no problem telling me this needs to be like this next time, or I need this. Where I feel like in other areas, other wineries, it might not be the same pathway for conversation. So I think that's such an important part about our business. And also from my sister's side, a marketing side, Christine knows exactly what our wines, need to be, where they need to be at. She is like Peter said, our older sister, our boss. She like is very involved in that regard as well. So it's just a nice little, everybody has their niche, everybody has their area, but we also play off each other quite a bit. And people always, like Pete said, they're like, how do you guys work together? And they're like, you guys get along? I'm like, we get along, catch us on a bad day. You might see something blow up, but usually we're pretty, because I think it all boils down to Pete and I, we have no problem, giving up to my sister, because we're like, yeah, she sees the business side. She probably knows best. But also my sister is never walking in the vineyard being like, it should be grown like this. Like she would never do that in 1 year. So
everybody gets their lane and gets control of it, and everyone's equally invested in the outcome. And it sounds like you all share a really strong work ethic too.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, it's hard. It's hard when you maybe have a disagreement with your brother or sister, and then you're like, oh, by the way, I'll see you at mom's for dinner.
Yeah. There's no avoiding each other.
Yeah. So we got to make up before mom sees us.
Well, I think one thing that you can credit Christine with is coming up with this fairly unique idea of how to structure your wine club. And instead of calling it a wine club, she calls it a member account. Can you tell us about how it's set up and what makes it unique from other wineries' wine clubs?
Yeah. So Christine always, like in the early years, she always wanted to make, she always said she wanted to make a farm experience. She said, I never wanted to be a winery. I never want to be just an Apple Hill farm. I want to create an experience where somebody could spend a whole day here. They can come do a tasting, they can go get a pie and some food at the baker, and then maybe go to a concert at night. And she wanted to create all these avenues where we can just, put our farm on display, because we truly do have an amazing farm. So we had a traditional wine club our first few years, but people kept coming up to us, hey, how do I want cider. I really want cider. Do you guys have a pie club? I love the concerts. Like, how can I just get it involved in the concerts? And Christine decided to create a club structure where there's tiers and it's charged monthly, but instead of us just allocating you wines and being like, here it is, you get what you get, on a quarterly basis, your monthly money goes into an account that is accessible anytime you're on the farm, and you just spend that however you want it. If you want to buy a bunch of cider with it, by all means. If you want to buy a bunch of pie with it, or a mix of wine and cider and pie, or come to the concerts and just buy bottles at the concerts, you could do whatever you want. And I think Christine is, she's been approached by Forbes, and she spoke on a panel in Monterey about direct consumer wine sales. And that's what I was saying. Like, she's such a good thing for us, because Pete and I, we are not good at selling wine. I always talk to winemakers, and they're always like, the hardest part is selling it. Right. And it's nice that Pete and I don't have to worry about that. We can just direct all of our time and our energy into making as the best wine as we could possibly make, where Christine has created this, just totally inventive and new way of wine clubs and getting people here and I also think that this new club structure speaks more to the new generation of wine drinkers that maybe don't want to be locked in so much to a shipment quarterly or 3 times a year. So it's pretty inventive. I always try to steal it and say that was my idea, and she always gets mad at me. So,
it dawns on me that because of the apples and the wine, I'm guessing fall and harvest is nuts.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
At Delfino and Edio. Like, how do you manage it?
Everything ripens at the same time. That's our busiest time. Like the weekends are so busy you can't even go out on the roads. And people are watching us process grapes. And yeah, everybody's busy time is at the exact same time. So the fall is kind of a wild experience, and it's like the fastest, longest 3 months. I know all winemakers talk about harvest, but especially adding the apples and the bakery and the Apple Hill season into it, it's just a hectic time for all of us. But we all work together. Like I said, we all stay in our lanes and put our heads down and work, and we get through it.
And I think when I first met my wife, I remember when things started getting serious, I was like, I have two things I have to tell you. One, I have to live in Camino, California for the rest of my life. And two, the months from August till November are pretty much off limits. That's time where you go and you, like Pete just said, put your head down and work.
And you'll never see me.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and actually I have two kids now, and both are born in one late August, one September. So I didn't really do myself any favors. But,
no way. That's so funny.
Not my best move, but
I was going to say that my husband said to me when we were first married, "Hey, I've never missed a Cal big game, and I'm not going to."
Nice.
So, so we're going to. He went to Cal. Yeah, and so like if by chance there's a baby due around the big, I'm going to the game. Close, but no, he never had to opt out of the delivery.
Yeah, me and Christine actually planned when I and my children not around fall.
Yeah.
For some reason, all of our kids are born around April and May.
Not more. I actually will say though that lately, and Tommy, my sister's husband, and my wife, they've done a very good job, and Peter's wife and the baker have done a very good job about attracting more visitors year round. It definitely obviously winter is we get snow up here, so it's not, obviously not a lot of people are going to be coming then, but start springtime all the way through the summer, I feel like the farm has just been getting busier and busier months, and like it should. I think coming up here when you're not having to deal with Apple Hill traffic, but you're still getting the beautiful, scenery, and for what bakeries are open, you're getting to eat all that yummy, baked goods. It's like trying to get people up here in the summer is the way to go in it. And it's been working the past couple of years.
Yeah, well, when Mary Babbitt and I visited, it was in April, and it was just beautiful.
Yeah.
Spring, everything was just starting to blossom and flower out or leaf out. It was just beautiful.
Yeah. The apple blossoms, when they're in, it's only my grandfather would always say a flash in a pan. It's for a week or two, but it's one of the prettiest times to be on the farm. The blossoms are so beautiful. But it's hard to get people off the Apple Hill, journey, the track of coming in September, October. But, Christine's done a good job about it.
And are people able to visit all week long, or do you do Apple Hill hours? I think tend to be, it seems like the farms and stuff are more Thursday through Sunday. So at Edio, are you guys, what is your visiting schedule? Not specific, like by the hour, but
so we actually just this year, now we're open the whole farm grounds are open every Saturday, Sunday. Then come fall time, Pete, right around Lavender Blue Festival, which is like Mother's Day, I think.
Okay.
That's when we really start to kind of open up the farm. I think it's end up being Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then come August, which is when we all put on our harvest hat. It's Thursday through Monday. So.
Okay.
Yeah. But this year was our first year being open Saturday, Sunday, every single week. And what a year to do it. January was like April. So people were happy for the farm to be open.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice. So I want to ask you all about the labels. Several of the wines that you sent us have a photo on them. I want you to tell me about that. But then a couple of others just have a signature that says Edio.
Yeah. So that is my grandpa's signature, Edio Delfino, a very Italian name. And then the guy on the tractor is also him. It's a photo that we had. We worked with a company in St. Louis Obispo, Makers and Allies, and we kind of told them our vibe and what we're all about: family number one, tradition. And that's the one that we all decided we liked. And so that's why we put him on the label. We wouldn't be here without him. He was a great man. He taught us so much. And yeah, family was really important to him. He had 7 kids.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I have a lot of aunts and uncles and a lot of cousins. And like we were talking about how our family all works here, it was just like our cousins are gravitate to here because we grew up running around this farm. And we want that for our children too one day.
Well, the farm was called like Kids Incorporated.
Kids Incorporated, yep, just because of the 7 kids. And when they were little, they would sell pumpkins and Indian corn and gourds outside of the bakery. And then when me and my siblings and cousins were little, we sold pumpkins and gourds. And so it was, then we called that Kids. So yeah, Kids Incorporated was called for years. People still call it that.
Really?
And when me and my siblings bought it, we changed the name. Delfino Farms, Edio Vineyards is the wine label. Jones Apple Bakery after my grandmother is the bakery, and then the reason why the label is how it is because of my grandpa. We just wanted to make homage to him and everything he's done.
Well, in addition to your own family farm and stuff and vineyards, he also was ag commissioner. So he had a huge impact on the overall area.
I don't know how he did it. I don't know how he ran a full farm, his vineyards, his orchard, worked a full-time job as ag commissioner, had 7 kids. Yeah. I kind of know how he did it. My grandmother, Joan, was an amazing woman too.
Joan did it.
She raised all her kids. She drove the bus for them,
no way.
And then did the bakery. Yeah, she drove. She's just was a great grandmother and a great baker. Her recipes, we still make them all today, and we never change them. My mother has added some of it, like the cheesecakes. Was my mom Robin's and my grandmother. They kind of went together and made that together. But yeah, no, I can't believe that he also was ag commissioner.
And actually, the signature label, the one with just the signature, that's our reserves, but we don't call them reserves. We call them the commissioner label. Our reserves are called commissioner in honor of him being ag commissioner. He's actually ag commissioner for so long, they named the county ag commissioner building after him. So he was 30 years, 33 actually. So we
my goodness,
definitely have roots in ag in this county. That's why, like Pete said, I think we love slow, and it would have been nice to stay, but we knew we couldn't let this farm, go. So,
well, having visited, we know it's a special place, and I can understand why you would go back.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So do you guys want to talk about a couple of the wines you sent? I wanted to ask you about Frank's Rhone blend. First, who's Frank? And that's a really lovely wine.
Oh, thank you. So Frank is my grandpa's dad. So my great grandpa. I never met him, but he's the whole reason that we got into wines and viticulture. St. Helena, he ran his 20-acre farm. So that's why we decided to make a blend after him, and it's my favorite blend. Before we started the winery, we traveled France, me and my sister and Derek, and we ended up knowing that we were going to do Rhones. We went down to Southern Rhone and tried their blends, and we fell in love with Chateauneuf, and we were going to do this Grenache based blend. But when we came up here, we found out that I've always really loved the Mourvedres up here, and I thought they had great structure, great flavors. So we made a Mourvedre-based blend, more like a Bandol, where it's majority Mourvedre and then Grenache Syrah. So that's how that blend kind of came out to be what it is. And it's been really popular, and I love making it, and I love working with Mourvedre. So that's why it's the star of the blend.
Nice.
Wow. It's lovely. I was just delighted to open it and have it be so complex and yet not harsh at all. Just really beautiful aromas.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
thank
also
you.
really
Yeah.
loved the number 5 Blanc blend with let's see, there's Picpoul, Grenache Blanc, Claret, Roussanne, Viognier. It's just so aromatic. And it's a blend of many of the vineyards in the area. We mentioned Barsotti, David Gerard. It's I just found it so fresh and quaffable.
I like that. Well,
yeah.
Mary and I were talking before you guys came on, and we were saying that I don't know if it's the foothills, it's the elevation, it's the cooler climate and your specific growing season, but there's a really nice acidity to what you guys are doing that's not, you're really careful in that it's not biting or rough or harsh, but it adds some structure to the wines you're making. So like in that Blanc, it was really lovely that there's a little bit of, it's zesty, but still it's an easily quaffable wine, as Mary said.
Yeah. Structure to me is the most important thing. Like when me and Derek harvest, we don't really care about sugar levels all that much. Brix, like we check it to make sure, but we really care about pH and flavor development. So we like to pick off pH, and that's the great thing. Like Derek was talking a little bit at the beginning of why we love the vineyards up here is the long ripening season. I was used to working with vineyards in Paso, and I loved them, and I loved the Paso wines. But if you got a pH and then you waited a day, it might shoot up dramatically, and you missed your window. We could really taste and really dial in exactly when we want to pick it, because it'll move so slowly during the fall. So we can really dial in what we want our acid levels to be as with the flavors.
Yeah.
And I also think that Pete and I, people in California call it hipster, but it's actually very old world, but we're very, trying to let vintages speak for themselves instead of trying to, maybe over extract or over ripen vineyards in the, wines in the field or over extracting in the cellar. But, I think, we're also dry farmed in the vineyard total 100% because Pete and I like to taste what the year tasted like. So before we got on, we were talking about the 23 Grenache and I can, like, when I think about that vintage, I think about how cool it was and just such a picture perfect year for Grenache. And then, 24, a little warmer at 24, if you can remember, it was, weeks of 100 degrees down in the valley and we saw our warm side. So just totally different wines, but that's okay. It's okay to have different wines because we're all DTC. So we could tell people why a wine tastes the way it does. And we're not trying to make a recipe book wine, which, and that, speaks to Pete mostly, but yeah, it's really fun to make those wines that lean more on that acid, and taste like where it's grown. I mean, I hate, terroir is such a word that's thrown around, but I really do think our wines are very driven.
Well, I think, the acidity is a signature. I think especially in the reds, the spice, just the fruit quality really comes out, and in the whites, they're so aromatic across the board.
Yeah. I think when Pete was saying when we traveled France, they kept using this word fresh. They'd pour you wine, they'd say it's fresh, even if it was an aged wine. You try wines from old world areas, and they're just so lively and very food friendly, obviously. And that's what we were like, we're gonna make that. And it was kind of a, not, I wouldn't say new, but, just a different style, especially for our area. And we were, and Pete and Christine, I was, younger at the time, but they're like, we're going to make these wines no matter what, people say or what, whatever it is. And I think that, like you were saying, now it's become a signature of our winery that we make a little more acid driven, fresh wines, that are a little more food friendly. And that's what we try to achieve and also speaks back to what I was saying about Peter and me being brothers in the vineyard and the cellar. Pete will come to me. He's like, I need more acid. And I'll be like, I will do everything I can do to give you more acid, which is, it's, you know, a little different, but and that's truly what we do. We try to maximize acid and maximize flavor. I don't really care about what the sugar is. I couldn't care less if it's 12.2 or 14.5. It doesn't matter to me. So.
Gosh, it's been so fun chatting with you guys, and I'm wishing you a really great growing season. No late frosts or anything that's going to throw you off. I shouldn't even have said it out loud. Honestly, when Mary Orlin and I visited El Dorado County and the Sierra Foothills up there and met different people, we had so much fun sitting in the tasting room, talking with you, Derek and Christine, and thinking like, what a cool family this is. And I just love the way you guys are blending the history of the Delfinos with your next generation energy and ingenuity, and really building something to be proud of that your grandpa Edio and great grandpa Frank, I'm sure, are looking down and smiling and just thrilled that you've taken this on and you're building it and building from what they started and making it bigger. So thank you.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah. And what a great legacy you're building.
Thank you.
So,
guys.
So thank you again for being here and part of Sip Sip Hooray. We've truly enjoyed it. We cannot recommend enough going to visit. It's worth a special trip, but certainly if you're in the area, do not miss the opportunity to stop by Delfino. Whether you're going to a concert, whether you're stopping by the bakery and then doing a quick run at into the tasting room, you can spend a whole day there or do a drive-by and pick up some great wine. But it is certainly worth it. It's beautiful, nicest people, and great quality.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And sip, sip, hooray to you guys.
Thank you.
Yeah, sip, sip, hooray.
Sip, sip, hooray.
Mary Babbitt, what an amazing family. You know, we got to meet Christine and Derek together over a year ago, and to meet Peter online and just to learn about the history of Edio and the whole family and all the things that they're doing. It's really kind of smart in this day and age where there's challenges to being a winery. They've got other businesses that they can also draw income from. But they seem to be really well grounded and in this together.
Absolutely. And that sense of camaraderie with it. And everybody's got their eyes on the prize. They are all focused on producing a great product in the bakery, in the vineyards, in the tasting room, and really sharing that with other people. I love it. And honestly, such a personable, fun group of next generation. I love the next generation Delfinos. So hats off to them and continued success to them.
And, you know, who knows, we may see the 5th and 6th generation.
I know there's a lot of little ones they're talking about there. So we'll see. But we hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as we did. And if you love that kind of wine chat and getting to meet the winemakers and the viticulturists, we hope that you'll continue to support Sip Sip Hooray and share it with your friends.
That's right. And to help people discover our show, please rate this podcast on whatever platform you listen to, or just even like us. It helps people discover the podcast. And then you can always leave us a comment on Spotify, or you can go to our website, sipsiphooraypodcast.com. We'll have links to Edio Vineyards and all of their businesses and notes from the show.
Absolutely. And we also have a Substack where you can learn more information about the show and different things that are on our minds as we navigate the wine world and how it's changing so much in recent years. But thank you again for listening. We always are appreciative of the time you spend with us.
Absolutely. And please follow us on social. We are at Sip Sip Hooray Podcast on Instagram and Facebook.
All right, Mary Orlin, that's going to do it for another episode. That was a lot of fun.
It was great. I loved, this virtual visit to the Sierra Foothills in El Dorado County.
Can you smell the Sierra spice?
I can.
And alpine air. All right. Well, cheers, and we'll talk soon.
Sip, sip, hooray.
Sip, sip, hooray.